Is it possible that a small group of banksters, largely affiliated with one single bank, have basically taken over and ripped off much of the developed world? And, certainly have their fingers in a lot of pies in the developing world, although that's a whole nother story. When the people of Greece saw their democratically elected prime minister, that was George Papandreou, when they watched him be forced out of office a year ago this month, November 2011, and replaced by an unelected, highly conservative so-called technocrat, Lucas Papademos, who is the current prime minister, most of the Greeks didn't realize that there was a bigger picture to what was happening all around them. Just the same as here in the United States. Back in 2008, the last year of the Bush administration, despite the switchboards at the U.S. Capitol just collapsing, literally going down, browning out under the volume of phone calls from constituents, from Americans calling the White House to say, vote no, or calling their elected representatives as well, vote no on the bailout. Yes, there were two bailouts during the Bush administration. I know everybody likes to talk about the stimulus, the Obama stimulus, but the bailouts were bigger and they were in the Bush administration. Everybody was saying vote no. It was overwhelming vote no. So what did Bush's Treasury Secretary, Henry Paulson, do? He voted yes. And we got the biggest bailout of Wall Street in the 230-plus year history of this country. So what is Greece having a conservative technocrat replace their prime minister and us bailing out the bank? What does that have to do with each other? Well, it's starting to come into focus. Now, as the Bank of England, a key player in the ongoing Eurozone crisis, announces that former investment banker Mark Carney will be its new chief, frankly, we can no longer afford to ignore what's going on around the world. Steadily and stealthily, and I am not wearing a tinfoil hat at this moment, trust me, Goldman Sachs is carrying out a global coup d'etat. There's one tie that binds Lucas Papademos in Greece, Henry Paulson here in the United States, Mark Carney in the United Kingdom, and that's Goldman Sachs. All were former bankers and executives at that Wall Street giant. All assumed prominent positions of power, and all played a hand after the global financial meltdown of 2007, 2008, thus making sure that Goldman Sachs weathered the storm and made big profits in the process. But that's just scratching the surface. You think this is tinfoil hat stuff? Listen to this. Europe is collapsing into an austerity-induced economic crisis, the same one that the Republicans tried to inflict on us over the last 4 years. At that same time, who's managing the continent as it collapses? Former employees of Goldman Sachs. The British newspaper, The Independent, laid this out earlier this year. The conservative technocrats currently steering, or who have steered, post-crash fiscal policy in Greece, in Germany, in Italy, in Belgium, in France, and now running the Central Bank of the UK, all come from Goldman Sachs. In fact, the head of the European Central Bank itself, the Uber banker, Mario Draghi, his job before they put him in charge of all of Europe's central banking, managing director of Goldman Sachs International. Here in the United States, after Treasury Secretary, former Goldman CEO Henry Paulson did his job in 2008, making sure that Goldman's multi-billion-dollar bailout was safe. He was replaced in the new Obama administration with Tim Geithner, who had worked hand in glove with Goldman Sachs when he regulated them as the head of the New York Fed and helped make sure during the Bush administration that Goldman got more than $14 billion via our bailout of IAG. We gave the money to IAG. IAG gave it to Goldman. Goldman's made whole. You know, what's happening here goes back more than a decade. In 2001, Goldman Sachs secretly helped Greece hide billions of dollars. Matt Taibbi laid this out first in Rolling Stone magazine, of all places, through the use of complex financial instruments like credit default swaps. This let Greece meet the baseline requirements to get into the Eurozone in the first place. And it also created a debt bubble. Right? Hey, things are going great here. Let's do all this on debt. Yeah, right. That later blew up in the faces of the Greeks and brought about the current economic crisis that's drowning the entire continent. But always looking ahead, Goldman protected itself from the debt bubble by betting against their own Greek bonds, expecting that they would eventually fail. Ironically, the guy who headed up the Central Bank of Greece while this deal was being cut with Goldman Sachs was, drumroll please, Lucas Papademos, the current Prime Minister of Greece. Goldman made similar deals here in the United States, masking the true value of investments, then selling those worthless investments to customers while placing bets that those same investments would eventually fail. The most notorious was the Timberwolf deal. Remember that? When the good senator from Michigan, that was Mr. Levin, was it not? As I recall, kept using that S word on the air. It brought down an Australian hedge fund. The Goldman Sachs banksters emailed to each other about it, bragging, boy, that Timberwolf was one SC deal, if you know what I mean. This sort of behavior by Goldman helped inflate and then eventually pop the housing bubble right here in the United States. And the shockwave then ran across the Atlantic, hitting Europe and turning Goldman's debt masking deal with Greece that they had made a few years before, turned it sour and deepened the crisis. Now, all of this stuff should have brought about the end of Goldman. But with their alumni in key policy positions on both sides of the Atlantic, not only did Goldman Sachs survive, they're doing very well, thank you very much. Daily Kos sums it up. The normal scenario usually involves helping a nation hide a problem and sell its debt until the problem blows up into a bubble that bursts in a spectacular way. Goldman Sachs then puts their man into a position of power to direct the bailout so that Goldman gets all its money back and more while the nation's economy gets gutted. End of quote. You know, for years, tinfoil hat crazies who've bookmarked Glenn Beck's websites and often appear as experts on Fox so-called news have been warning us, there's a one world government coming. Latest threat, according to them, Agenda 21. It's a Soviet-style authority. It's going to confiscate private property. It's going to redistribute wealth. It's going to force us all to live. Global warming. Oh, my God, that's terrible. It's totalitarian government. Don't worry about the corporations, they say. Don't even talk about the banksters. But when you take off that tinfoil hat, you can see that the sort of world government that has already been established, it's far more subtle, but it's pretty conspicuous. It's the rise of Goldman Sachs and their colleagues in the Wall Street elite. You look at the world this way, and it raises lots of questions, but a lot of those questions can be answered once you realize that Goldman alumni from Goldman Sachs have executed basically a global coup d'etat. Why are the working people of Greece, Portugal, Spain, and Italy, and increasingly here in the United States and the United Kingdom, being, suffering under austerity and being asked to sacrifice their pensions, their wages, and their jobs, when after 5 years, it's really obvious that these austerity measures are just making things worse? Why? Because Goldman Sachs is sucking the marrow out of the bones of these countries before they throw them away.